This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only.
President Bush admits he's made mistakes in Iraq. But why is his speech making everyone nervous in the Middle East? And how will the war end? These stories and more on Link TV's Mosaic Intelligence Report.
Perhaps the most encouraging aspect to President Bush's address to the nation on Wednesday is that he admitted that he has made mistakes in Iraq. There were no obvious surprises. His plans to send more troops into Iraq were leaked to the press weeks in advance. Nevertheless, there were hidden messages and threats in his speech, not only to America's enemies in the region, such as Syria and Iran, but also to its allies, Egypt, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. For him, the so-called moderate Arab states were not doing enough to help the U.S. in controlling Iraq.
We will use America's full diplomatic resources to rally support for Iraq from nations throughout the Middle East. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and the Gulf states.
But what caught the attention of many in the Middle East is his direct threat to Syria and Iran.
Succeeding in Iraq also requires defending its territorial integrity and stabilizing the region in the face of extremist challenges. This begins with addressing Iran and Syria.
Bush's most recent speech at the White House, in which he announced the deployment of a few thousand extra troops in Iraq, triggered extensive debate among political analysts in the Arab world, with many suggesting that the American president's recent remarks carried a secret executive order to launch military operations against Syria and Iran. On the same day Bush made his speech, U.S. forces attacked an Iranian consulate in northern Iraq, seizing computers and files and detaining 5 diplomats and staff. Also in recent months, media reports warned of a buildup of U.S. warships in the Persian Gulf, which implies Washington's persistence to ignore the advice of the Iraq Study Group to reach out to Iraq's 2 neighbors for help. At the same time, the president failed to tell the American public certain important details which will affect his new strategy in the months to come. His decision to dispatch another 21,500 soldiers to Iraq exposes a widening rift between British and American military strategy. The deployment will bring the total number of U.S. military personnel in Iraq to 154,000. But as Mr. Bush's forces are surging in, Britain's forces are trickling out. Britain has barely 7,200 troops in Iraq, already a reduction of 1,500 from the force level of 18 months ago. Also, Iraq's Prime Minister Maliki's record has not been good. He has been unable or unwilling to confront the main Shia warlord, Muqtada al-Sadr, on whom he depends for parliamentary support. His government cannot fight sectarianism if entire ministries are working for the Shia militias. This was demonstrated by the execution of Saddam Hussein. On Tuesday alone, 40 bodies were found in Baghdad, the presumed work of the death squads. Oh yes, the surge. What's that supposed to mean? The White House cannot call it an escalation, as Vietnam was escalated, and the word is banned in White House lexicon. The trouble in Iraq is far worse than Vietnam. America's loss of prestige in the Middle East damages it to a far greater extent than defeat at the hands of the Viet Cong. This is a country that cannot be healed with more troops and more military might. And Bush's plan relies heavily on a prime minister whom few Iraqis consider trustworthy or even-handed. Most importantly, Bush's failure to map out an exit strategy leaves us with this unanswered question: how the war will end. I'm Jamal Dajani for the Mosaic Intelligence Report. To learn more about this program or to share your thoughts, visit us at linktv.org/mosaic.
This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.